Right. Okay. Hello. Good morning. You've got which congregation am I going to this morning, Karen?
Lantwick's the first one, I think, isn't it?
Lantwick's the first one. So I'm doing the thing that me and Alison did again, but this time to two congregations that can't deny they've had a problem with abuse, because the last two congregations said, well, we don't have a problem, you know, and I was, oh, okay. But this time we're going to the congregation where this happened and where we know documents were destroyed. And I think this is probably the only one where we need to go in person and talk to them. So I've got the stuff again. I've got the elders' letter saying don't destroy documents, and I've got the government's letter saying do destroy documents, and the government's letter saying don't destroy documents. And what I really want to do today is make sure that somebody at both of these congregations takes hold of this letter. And if they don't, I'm going to make a bit of a show of saying, oh, are you refusing this letter from the government inquiry? And if they, you know like how they don't take stuff off you. You try and give them something and they sort of give you it back.
I was going to say this because
yes.
you've got a campaign going at the moment to write the letters to, or give these letters to elders.
Yeah.
In the Barry Kingdom Hall, they haven't got a letterbox. Because I wrote them a letter and it got returned to me.
How bizarre.
So they
there's nowhere to post it to.
Well, no, if you post it, it's going to come back to you.
So well, that's a really interesting point. Yeah, to say,
put this.
You need to take this letter, and if he kind of tries to give me it back, I've got a notebook that I'm going to get out, and I'm going to say, are you actually refusing this to take this letter from the government inquiry, because it has to be issued to all religions? In fact, it should have been sent to Bethel, and it says in the letter, please circulate this letter and its appendices to all parts of your organisation and to those bodies for which you are responsible. So all elders should have had this from Bethel anyway. So obviously they haven't.
But they won't, because it conflicts with the other letter that says
to destroy. So they won't have had it. But if the guy tries to not take it off me, I'm going to write down the time and the date and say, can I take your name, and just make a note that you're refusing this letter. And then I'm going to phone up the inquiry and tell them and say, this person, he won't give me his name obviously, this person refused to take the inquiry letter. And I think that will be really powerful, because they're going to look stupid if they refuse it, and if they take it then all well and good. So I'm really nervous, but we'll see.
Hello.
We'll see what transpires.
Hello everyone. This looks so funny. I'm hiding in a tree opposite the Kingdom Hall at Lantwick, because obviously I don't want anyone to see me, because I might be recognised here. So here's the Kingdom Hall where Louise has just gone in. Hope you can see that. So this is the congregation where my abuser's family still attend. It's the congregation he attended himself. After everything that happened in Barry, they all moved to Lantwick. So there was him, his wife and his children, and his parents. His dad died a couple of weeks ago, so it's just his mum and his wife and daughter now who attend the Lantwick congregation. They're not particularly nice people. When my court case was going on, I had to contact some of the elders from that congregation, because they were like the coordinators sort of thing. They were the ones who were keeping me updated on what was happening with Mark, and why he hasn't been disfellowshipped, etc. They weren't very helpful on the phone, so I don't know what sort of reception Louise is going to get, but I told her I'm going to hang around up here just in case it all goes pear-shaped. So when she comes out, I'll start filming again. Okay. So Louise is just coming back. Get in. Here she comes. Just getting in the car. Speak to someone?
let's get the times. Are you recording this? Right, okay, so I went in. I never know how to start these things, right? So I thought I'll just go in, sit down and wait for somebody to come to me because that's the easiest way. So I walked into the hall, said, oh, hello, good morning, and, went and sat down and then just waited, and then eventually a lady came up to me called Sue Sargent. Oh, hello, I like your tights. Oh, thank you very much. Where are you from? Well, so I thought, I'm going to tell this woman.
Good.
Because she didn't look too old and she didn't look too young to be scared, right? There were some real old ladies and I thought there's no point beasting the old ladies. But she seemed exactly the right age that she, So, bizarrely, she sat and listened to me. I showed her the Elder's letter, I showed her the inquiry letter, I showed her the Mark Sewell thing, I showed her the Royal Inquiry thing. And she sat and listened for ages before she said, well, I'll go and get somebody. And she went off and got a fella who was obviously an elder. Now, I didn't catch his name, but if this pen's worked, it'll have recorded everything. And he told me his name, his first name at least. And I went through it all again.
Steve?
I don't know. I went through it all again, and he listened politely, and he took the letter off me, and I showed him the letter to destroy documents, which he didn't flinch at all, and then I showed him the the statutory inquiry thing, and I got out the sheet about the statutory inquiry, and I said they're investigating all organisations as well as churches. I said in the Australian Royal Commission one, they focused on churches that had problems. I said, so in Australia they took 2 congregations that had cases of abuse. Now, I didn't let him know that I knew, but obviously I had the Mark Sewell page that I was using as an example, so he probably knew that I knew. And I said, the thing is, I don't want elders to get into trouble. And I said, you might not be aware, but in the Australian Royal Commission, Toole was reported to the Law Society, and I showed him the findings. So he had a little bit of discuss about that. He said, well, he obviously had a conflict of interest. He said he had a conflict of interest. I said, but as a solicitor, he has to obey the law. And the law is that he should have told the elders to report criminal offences. And he said, well, he would have been conflicted with his beliefs. And I said, well, there is no conflict.
So his beliefs differ from
the law?
From that,
yeah. I said there is no conflict. You obey the law if you're a solicitor. So I said, unfortunately, the Jehovah's Witness solicitor in Australia might be struck off. And I don't know if he will or not, but it's a possibility. I said, and my concern is he's advising elders to destroy documents, and you might get into trouble, you might be liable personally. I said, and I've got friends that are elders, I don't want them to get into trouble, so I'm giving you this. And then he said, what's your name? And I said, oh, I'm Louise. And he said, who are you with? I said, well, what did I say? I work for Child Safeguarding. He said, with who? So I thought, shit, I don't know. I said that with the LEA, because actually I am paid by the LEA, right? So I said, with the LEA. He said, okay. So I said, my concern is I just don't want you to be getting personally into trouble. Then he said, I'm really sorry, this will so upset you. The woman tried to defend Mark a bit, and she said, oh, well, it was reported to the police, but there was no evidence. I said, well, there clearly was evidence because he got 14 years, didn't he? She goes, oh, yes, but that was later. So when I spoke to the guy, he said to me, can I ask you to put that away, please? He goes, because there are at least 4 members of his family in this congregation and it's sensitive. I said, got it out again, even more. I said, well, it's public information, this. It's nothing, it's nothing that's secret or hidden. He said, no, but... So I thought, no,
Did you get Charles to ask why he's not disfellowship?
Oh, damn, I
no,
didn't.
Oh, not to worry.
Oh, damn, I'm so sorry. No, I
No,
didn't.
it's fine.
Would that be is that something, they're the congregation that would have DF'd him?
Yeah.
Not
to worry.
It's so hard.
To remember everything.
Yeah, of course it is.
And I kind of use my paper in my pockets as a prompt for how long, because we set it up, didn't we, so that this is how the conversation will go first. And then
there's nothing to say you can't ask elders in the next congregation why hasn't he been disfellowshipped. Because he was in the Barry congregation.
I'll try and
they all know him.
So anyway,
and it wasn't reported to the police 20 years ago. Oh, it was by us.
It was by me.
Yeah,
but no
this is what I was
we
thinking.
did as well,
but not them.
Didn't.
Oh
they
no.
didn't.
And I said, well, clearly documents were destroyed. Clearly documents were destroyed because it says it in the court case. And I said, and that's going to get elders into trouble. And I made a point of pressing with the elder and saying, in the Australian Royal Commission, I said they did the 2 case studies of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I said you can look it up online if you want. And I wrote it on his letter, Australian Royal Commission. I said Google it. I said, oh, and you'll be really interested. There's an interview with Jeffrey Jackson, your governing body member. So I said, you'll find that really interesting. I said, and they interviewed the elders who were involved in the 2 abuse cases, and they interviewed Toole, and he could be struck off.
And didn't you know about it?
Well, of course he didn't know about it. But I wrote it down for him. He thought I was going to write my name, because he was saying, who are you, who are you? And so instead I wrote Australian Royal Commission and said to Google it, and I wrote the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse and said, this is coming this year. I said, and you might not realise you're also being investigated by the Charities Commission as well. So I said, I don't want you to get into trouble by destroying documents.
So was he nice to you?
Yeah, it was quite.
Well, there was only one elder.
It was in the hall. I did what we did, sat down, didn't move. So they had to come to me and sit. It was in the hall, and it was just him. But what the woman said, what Sue said, before she went to get she went to get him, and then she came back and spoke to me a bit more, and she said, he's just having a conversation with someone, and then he'll be with you. And I thought, yeah, they're having a bloody conflab, aren't they? They're having a quick elders huddle, bit of a scrum.
Do you think they would have told she would have told them what it was about then?
Oh yeah, because I'd explained it in full to her, and then she came back for some more.
Yes, and then she'll be passing it on.
Well, that's what I hoped.
Good, because she was a gossip, probably.
Well, that's what I hoped.
That's what I mean.
Well, there's nothing else to do of any fun at Kingdom Hall, is there?
No.
There's literally nothing else to do, so
But
gossip is what you do.
If she is the only one that listens, then
Yeah.
you've done some good.
Yes,
Yeah.
she has.
It's,
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. She was really nice, and he was. You could tell she was a bit nervous,
Sue
but
Sargent, I
Sue
don't
Sargent.
know her.
So, onward and upward. We'll do Barry next.
Well done, Louise.
Well done.
So the woman said, out of nowhere at all, well, we were just talking about the court case, she said, I know that none of our money gets used towards anything dubious. And I thought, I haven't mentioned money, but as you've brought it up, so I said, well, you do know that in the High Court in London, the Jehovah's Witnesses were ordered to pay £700,000 in 2015, and you can see she didn't know that.
Where did the money come from for that?
Yeah, and then I said, in America, Candace Conti, they were ordered to pay $23 million. I said, and before Candace, there were 9 out-of-court settlements that were all to the tune of $3 million each. I said, so that where is that money coming from? I said, that's an awful lot of money. But what I thought was really interesting was, what made...
Where does the money come from?
Right, so it's obviously a question with them.
Better not bring that into the video.
But that was...
Want to know that.
It's in.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah. Do you know what? It was so lucky that
So the bit that particularly upsets me out of that is the fact that the elders are so concerned about the family of the abuser, about, I'll put that away because there's 4 members of his family in this congregation. And that makes me think, well, what about being sensitive to me? What about being sensitive to my mum, who was still attending meetings, and my nan, because my auntie and my cousin decided they would stop talking to my nan because they feel that my nan was supporting me, so they just won't speak to her anymore, even though they're all Jehovah's Witnesses. And I actually phoned the Landswet elders about that and said, how can that be allowed when they're all Jehovah's Witnesses? How could she just not bring her mum, not speak to her mum? And in fact, when my nan tried to ring them, she got shouted at down the phone, and the phone put down on her, which is absolutely disgusting. And the Landswet elders' response to that was, well, it's nothing to do with us, because your nan is in the Barry congregation. If she wants to make a complaint, she'll have to go to the elders in Barry, and then the elders from Barry will have to contact us. And that's how cold they are. But we don't want to upset members of the family of the abuser. That would be wrong. It's absolutely shocking.
Okay. We're in that driveway. All are welcome. Where's the door? That's the fire door.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Hey.
Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Oh.
Hello. In between the rain.
Hello, good morning.
No, just say morning.
Good.
Yeah, we're not doing it.
I know.
So, did you get the watch? You're not having the direction, probably. Undoubtedly that will happen one day. I get it every day now anyway. Yes. That's good, isn't it? Like that.
Right, hello Ruth, how are you? I'm fine. I'm Laura. What's your name? My name's Sue. Sue, very good.
And I'm Neil.
Oh, yes, mine's Steve. Right. How are you?
Neil. I had a brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you have your
Oh, right. I was filling in today because unfortunately I was sick and his brother died.
Yes.
And he would do that talk on the resurrection.
Oh, no. Oh, thanks.
You find the what?
I know.
It's better not to.
Yeah.
Well, you might have a friend, but
Well, we're here for the next 2 weeks and then we're away for 4 weeks, so anyway.
I'll probably the next one.
Hello. Oh, thank you. I only ever wear them on special occasions.
Right, so you are...
My name's Louise.
Louise.
You are...
I'm Sue Sargent.
Sue.
There's a couple of Sues at Grand Colleen.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Sue's, lots of
So,
Sue's.
where are you from?
I am just visiting actually to I've got a letter to deliver to someone. The governing body they send this letter out each year to ask elders to destroy documents.
Okay.
But you know, did you know there was a government inquiry this year? And the chair of the inquiry has sent a letter out saying not to destroy documents. So it's to go to all religious organisations. So I've just come to deliver it here.
Oh, right, okay.
Because it might cause a bit of problems if if people do destroy documents.
Right, okay, that's lovely. Do you want me to?
Yeah, that'd be amazing if you would. Yeah, thank you. Because of course there is a bit of a problem with Jehovah's Witnesses destroying documents.
I'm not.
No.
I'm not sure.
Well, there was this case here where it said in Australia this year there was an inquiry and it said they destroyed 1,000 documents, and then there was this case here where it said they destroyed documents. They actually admitted it in court. So although the problem is, I'm worried that it's going to get elders into trouble in court if they carry on following that governing body letter. Yeah.
Say back to me.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Louise.
Louise. Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Say I hope not.
Morning, I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Hobbling.
Yeah. You managed through the rain then?
Well, yeah, it's the weather.
That's horrible, isn't it?
No, if you've got arthritis or anything,
Ah.
it's horrible.
It is. You know, I used to work in a health shop and there were we had a book about arthritis, but I can't remember what it said. But I think you can do something with your diet, but you'd have to read. But it is all I can't.
But you can't
not.
do a lot.
No.
You can't do a lot.
No, it's not something I'd want to. Yeah,
So
to deal with. You just hobble. Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Really?
He's just having a chat with somebody.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'll come on. Yeah. 'Cause did you know that that in England this year there's going to be an independent inquiry, the government has set up an inquiry, not just witnesses, obviously, they're going to literally investigate everyone. But I think because of cases like that one, that Mark Sewell one, they're probably going to be investigating and doing case studies on Jehovah's Witnesses. And also, this year they're also being investigated by the Charities Commission. So the new Moston congregation is being investigated, but the Jehovah's Witnesses as a whole is being investigated. It's just a bit worrying that the government and the Charities Commission have both found things that they're worried about, that they need to investigate.
I'm not sure about asking, I can't comment.
No, you can't, no.
I haven't got a problem. I mean, I know the money that we give doesn't go to anywhere strange or...
It goes to pay off cases, though. You know, there was a High Court case in 2015 where the Jehovah's Witnesses in the UK were forced to pay £700,000 on an abuse case.
Right.
Yeah. And last year, Candace Conte and another one, I can't remember his name. Candace Conte, they were awarded $23 million, which I know is different to pounds. But so obviously, I mean, the money that's been donated is supporting cases. Before Candace in 2012, there were 9 out of case settlements with gagging causes. So it went to court and then they settled, and each one was settled for about $3 million. That was in America.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of money bleeding out of this, and there's other court cases. So the Mark Sewell one is obviously a criminal case where somebody goes to prison, but there are also civil cases that look at the 2-witness rule. What they're saying is obviously you can't help it if there's an abuser in your congregation, but it's how you deal with it, and that was the High Court one in London. It wasn't the fact that somebody had done something awful, it was the 2-witness rule that covered it up, that meant that the Jehovah's Witness organisation as a whole was liable. So all they need to do, the only thing they need to do to change is say, go straight to the police and hand the investigation straight over.
I think, as far as I'm aware, that
Didn't it? Here. I mean, in this case it didn't.
It actually did.
Yeah, but it took the victims 30 years to get to...
When it first came up 20 years ago, it went straight to the police, and the police said there wasn't enough evidence to prosecute.
Right.
So I do know that as a fact, because I know the person who dealt with it, and I've no reason to doubt his support.
There was enough evidence in the end, though, wasn't there? He got 14 years.
Yes, but that's not... if you take it to the police, and the police say at that time there's not enough evidence to prosecute it, then there's not much you can then do.
I wonder why documents were destroyed then in that case. I mean, that's why I've got that letter, just to say don't destroy documents, because that was clearly reported that
I think like everything else, because of the Data Protection Act when it came in, but this is only from my background, not
Anyway, thank you. Hi.
Hello there.
Hiya. I've just come to just to leave you this letter here. So I'm aware of the governing body's letter that says that you need to destroy certain documents.
Yeah.
But what I thought you might not be aware of, there's a statutory inquiry this year in the UK into child sexual abuse. It's headed by Justice Lowell Goddard, and she's issued a general letter to all organisations, not just religious ones, but all organisations. And it just states not to destroy documents. So we're delivering this. It should have gone to the branch, and it should have come to you from the branch actually, because the letter says please circulate this letter to all parts of your organisation. So the organisation I work for, we've had it via our head office.
And which organisation do you work for?
I just work in child safeguarding, and I'm working. Sorry.
For whom?
I work in the LEA.
Right.
Okay. So I'm bringing you that letter just because this statutory inquiry this year, you can look it up on the website, independent inquiry into child sexual abuse. They're going to be investigating all sorts of organisations, including religions, and because of cases like this was the one that happened in Australia, that it just happened last year, and they found 1,006 cases of abuse, and they found that none of them have been reported, and that documents have been destroyed in all those cases. So we're just concerned that that doesn't happen again in the UK, because this Royal Commission in Australia, they did 32 case studies, and one of them was on Jehovah's Witnesses, and they focused in on 2 congregations where there'd been notable cases. So, and also, well, as you know, documents were destroyed there. So it's just really to say, just to be aware that the inquiry is instructing people not to destroy documents. So I'll just leave that with you. Yeah, you can. You know what? You can, you can. If you, I don't know, but you know what? I can write down on that sheet if you want the ICSA website. There you go. So if you Google this, ICSA, you can see the inquiry. It's just been launched. The Australia one had been going for quite a few years, and that was called. So you can see what kind of things the Commission is likely to do. In fact, what's really interesting is you can see Jeffrey Jackson, a member of the governing body. He was interviewed in the Australian Royal Commission. So it's all online. You can just Google Jeffrey Jackson, and that's all online. Yeah.
That one's covered, because there are at least 4 members of that man's family here at the moment.
Right. Well, it's public information, isn't it?
It is public,
yeah.
It's also a sensitive time for them as well. They lost their father, not him.
No.
The other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's great. I'll leave that letter with you, and have a look at that and see the interview with Jeffrey Jackson, and they also. They videoed all the court sessions. They interviewed elders within congregations. They interviewed Two, who's the Watchtower solicitor for the Australian branch office. In fact, I've got a document. They've just issued their findings, the Royal Commission. Which is, thought I had it, but I don't. Unfortunately, they reported the Watchtower solicitor. Here we go. So these are the findings on the Jehovah's Witnesses issue. One of the findings was they referred Mr. Toole, the branch office solicitor, to the Law Society, because he said he did not advise congregation elders of their obligations to report criminal offences under the Crimes Act. So unfortunately, he might be struck off because of that. So we know that there's, that as elders you might be being given misleading advice that gets you personally in trouble.
Right, there is obviously there was a conflict of understandings. Obviously his understanding of what was right was contrary to that.
Well, as a solicitor, he has to follow the law, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But that's not a conflict following the law, is it? The law is the law.
His conflict would have been it's not for us to
yeah.
Anyway.
No. Well, anyway, he could be struck off as a solicitor because of his failure to. But the thing is, if elders advise to break the law, it's the elders that are liable. That's my worry, because I know I've got friends that are elders. I don't want them getting into trouble with the law because they've been instructed to do something that's contrary to the law, which is actually just a straightforward report of criminal offence. Right. You'd report a burglary, wouldn't you? So anyway, that's why I brought you that letter to try and thank you for your time. Thanks, nice to have met you. The bike went going.
So here we are at Barry Kingdom Hall with Louise.
Feeling a bit nervous.
Even though it's the 4th time I've done it.
I think I get used to it now, wouldn't you?
So I'm probably going to hang around by here because I don't want anyone to see me, obviously, because this is my old congregation.
Is this the last one you ever visited? You ever went to as a JW?
Yeah, this is the only congregation I was in.
Went to. Jesus.
They may not recognise me, but just in case they would, I don't want to spoil anything.
No, it's got to be someone that they've never seen before, so that they'll give us a few minutes of listening time.
So I'm going to stay by here and just give the history of the congregation while you walk in. Hopefully I'll be able to see you in the background. just move away from the lamppost. So there she goes. So this Kingdom Hall is my old congregation. This is the Kingdom Hall where we all went when I was a kid. Let me just turn it around a little bit. So there she is going in. I think I can hear the song playing actually in the background. So this is where all the meetings were held, in the second school in this Kingdom Hall, with me and my uncle and the elders and his family and my dad. So this congregation are well aware of issues of child abuse within the Jehovah's Witnesses, because it all happened here. There's actually there's two paedophiles currently in this Barry congregation. One has just been reinstated. He was disfellowshipped for about a year, I think, and he's been reinstated. Obviously no one in this congregation has been told why he was disfellowshipped. And there's another paedophile in this congregation who has never been dealt with at all. I think that's partly because the victim didn't want to do anything about it. I know the elders were made aware, but they just didn't do anything. So, for Louise's information, whereas other congregations may not have ever dealt with anything like this before, the Barry congregation definitely has. This is also the congregation who offered no support to us, either at the time or during the court case, after the court case. I haven't had any contact with any elders offering any sort of help, any support. My mum never had any help, even though my mum was actually a serving witness while the court case was going on. So I don't know what sort of reception they're going to give Louise here, but I'm hoping it's going to be a kind one, but I really don't know. Anyway, we'll see how she goes when she comes out. Okay, Louise has just come out. It was actually somebody came out with her. I couldn't tell who it was, but it was a man who actually escorted her out, and then I saw her handing papers to him. So this is going to be an interesting one.
Well, I got him to show me where the mailbox was. Where is it? It's a black thing out front, but it's not marked at all. And I tried to I spent a bit of time fiddling with it. And you lift the lid up. There is a postbox. There is a postbox. I said, you need to tell your postman about that. We've had trouble getting documents to you. He said, yes, we've been told that. I said, does your postman know it's here?
Oh, that's rubbish.
Yeah.
We've had letters. We've had lots of letters.
No, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Who did you speak to?
So I spoke to a fella. I went into the hall and I just stood around and waited and then nobody came to speak to me, so I went up to the notice board and read all the notices. And then a fella came up to me, and so I did the spiel. Oh, and first of all I said, I've got this information off the charity's website, this name and address. I said, but we can't, is that this place here? And he looked at it and he said, oh yeah, that's this place. I said, only we can't find a post box, so we didn't know how to get documents to you. So I went through the thing, are you aware of this letter? He said, oh well, I'm not the person that you need to speak to. It's
Dave Marr.
Marr. So he went off. I mean, he gave me a good. I got to explain the whole thing. And then he went off, and then he came back and he said, "Oh, Marr's not here, but you can speak to this fella." So this fella introduced himself. I forget instantly.
Brian Jones.
I can't. Don't even listen. If this has worked, it'll be on there.
Yeah.
He was cold, and he pressed me a lot more on who I was. So I said, Louise, my name's Louise, and I went through the whole spiel, and I said about the Australian Royal Commission. I gave him the findings, because he said, anything you want to give me, I'll take. So I gave him the letter, in fact, I gave both of them the letter, so they had a copy each, gave him the findings, told him that Tool was in trouble for giving incorrect advice, and I said, the trouble is you're being investigated by 2 different groups this year. Because he was saying, who are you? So you're saying we're under scrutiny. I said, yeah, you're being investigated by the Charities Commission and the independent inquiry. And I said, you might not realise that the Australian Royal Commission, blah, blah, blah. So then he started pressing me, who are you again? Who are you? So in the end I had to say, well, I've just come here off my own. You know, I'm not representing anyone, I'm here myself. But I just think you need to know this because you could get into real trouble if you're following this advice to destroy documents when you clearly... He said, how long do these documents need to be kept? I said, well, I'm just showing you this letter from Justice Goddard that says don't destroy documents because you're going to be investigated this year. So I said, can you show me where the post box is on the way out, please? Because we couldn't find it. So he showed me it, and I tried to...
So it's within the railings?
You just poke your hand through the railings. It's a black box. It's like a box that, you have on the outside of your house for your electricity or something, but black. And there's a bit that goes in where you think you'd put letters, but it's solid. So I was pushing my fingers.
Yes, that's what a postman would do.
So I was pushing my fingers and nothing was going in. And then both of them stood there looking at me. And then I lifted the lid and I went, oh, right, okay. Yeah, and then I said, does your postman know about this? Because it's not very clear. He said, well, we used to have a post box over there, but now we have the post box here. But it's not marked.
You wouldn't know it with a post
You
box.
wouldn't know at all. Not at all. It's clearly done.
Yeah, deliberately.
Deliberately. Oh, and I tell you what I said. On the way, I remembered, I said, do you happen to know why Mark Sewell hasn't been disfellowshipped? He said, no, I don't. I said, you don't care, do you? He said, well, you're putting words into my mouth there. I said, well, you can give me words. And he just smiled at me, and I went, thank you very much, and walked off.
So what do you think your reception was? Do you think they knew you were coming?
No, I don't think they
No,
did.
I don't think they did.
Do you know, there wasn't even anyone on the door. There weren't even... I went in and into the lobby and the song was going and I thought, I'm not going to walk into the hall. I'm going to stand here because I don't need to go in. So I just stood waiting for the song to end. And then I heard somebody flush the toilet. So the prayer had started. So I thought, I'm going to pretend I'm doing the prayer so that they don't speak to me. So I stood there right respectfully with my head down and my eyes closed. I kept doing this peeping to see. Because I thought, God, I don't want anyone speaking to me out here.
No.
I want to go in. So when the prayer had finished, then I walked in and I just stood and I stood. And I stood, and I looked round, and I stood, and I looked at some little children.
Was there many people there?
Yeah, there were more. There were children. There were some really cute little kiddies, really sweet little boys.
It's always been a young congregation, the Barry congregation.
Nobody spoke to me though.
Paedophile paradise.
Paedophile paradise it was. They were beautiful children. But nobody spoke to me, which I find weird because I just didn't. We used to love bomb people. I did. We did. We used to go up to them, didn't we? Oh, hello. Well, so I stood for ages.
It was only us that would do it.
Yeah, and we've all left.
Yeah. So who's doing it now?
Who's doing it now?
Well, obviously nobody, because that was...
So that was weird. So then I thought, I feel like a right plum, stood it, because I was stood right in the middle, at the back, stood up straight, looking round, scanning. Nobody for about 5 minutes.
You probably looked too formidable.
So Dave Marr wasn't there. I wonder who it was.
So then
was that the guy that walked you out?
Yeah.
Grey hair.
Grey hair, yeah.
Grey suit.
So he was
very tall.
He was the cold guy, was he?
He was the really cold guy.
It's got to be Brian Jones.
I bet he was Brian.
It might be, yeah.
I bet you.
Yeah, that does ring a bell. So I went over to the notice board, and then that was a bit... Because then I had my back to people, because I was pretending to read the notices, because I just didn't know what to do.
Well, what you've done is, Lou, you've put the wind up again.
Yeah.
And that's just all you need to do.
Yeah, and they took them off me. I mean, in Gloucester, when I've tried to give them documents, they've not taken them. They've refused to take them. So both of these guys took one. I think, when he said, you can give me anything you want me to have, I think he felt nervous that I'd pointed out all these investigations that were coming, and he felt...
Did you give him everything that you've had?
I gave him the 2 letters, governing body letter, and I gave him the 77 findings of the Australian Commission, because it's got highlighted.
Did you show him the Sewell thing?
Yes, I did. I said, because as we know, there is a problem with the documents being destroyed by Jehovah's Witnesses. Yeah, and I showed him the Australian one. I said, and in this situation, 1,006 documents, were destroyed. Regarding
would have been more than 1,006. That was 1,006 cases.
Abusers, so, not victims.
Yeah, but I mean, imagine how much correspondence would have been going through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
At least, say 3 or 4 letters per case.
So I did feel like normally they are confident not to take stuff, and I just sensed a weariness, like we'd better take this just in case, is what I sensed.
Well done, girl.
So another elders meeting in the offing there, I think, and they've got 2 copies.
Maybe they get in the
the message a bit, that they can't just dismiss people completely.
But it's not all apostate stuff, it's genuine.
Yeah.
It's genuine stuff.
Yeah, he was very tight-lipped, but nowhere near as nasty as Chris Harris.
Oh,
Except when I said, you don't care, do you? And he said, do you know why? He just went, I don't know. Oh, I need it. That was after reading Alexandra James's article about why is there an abuse problem. He said, basically, they just don't care.
That's
and
right,
I thought, yeah. And I just thought, that's it, they just don't care. So I just said to him, you don't care, do you? And he said, well, you're putting words into my mouth. I said, well, give me words. But he had no words to give.
Well, they haven't, have they?
No, because they know they're in the wrong. So I just said, I don't want elders to get into trouble because you'll be personally liable.
Plus, they obviously have a paedophile in that congregation that's recently been reinstated. So,
probably his brother.
And it'll be his brother.
If it is Brian James.
Really?
Yeah.
OMG.
Only if that was Brian that you spoke to.
And if that is the case, he would have been, if he had been in another congregation, he would have been removed from being an elder because his brother was.
Yeah.
And he tried to do it under wraps, tried to deal with it himself. Of course he couldn't.
They're just blatant, aren't they? Well, do you know what, girls? We've got evidence now for the inquiry. They've got the letters. They can't deny anything. I hope your two congregations do get picked up as case studies.
I do as well.
I really do. I really do.
I
And I said to him, I said, oh, there's a lovely interview with your governing body member, Jeffrey Jackson. And he smiled like he'd seen it or knew about it. There was something in there was a touch of recognition in his face when I said that. It didn't. The others, you can tell when people don't know, because there's a flash of not knowing or puzzlement or something. There was none of that when I mentioned Jeffrey Jackson and the other case studies of the Australian Royal Commission. It looked like he knew about it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think he can read people intuitively.
Well, he didn't look like any of the ones I know, apart from Brian Jones. So I think Brian
I reckon,
I didn't realise Brian Jones had bright white hair.
Yeah, he has now.
God, I didn't know that.
Time passes, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's stress when your brother's a pedo, isn't it? I guess it
And
wears
you've
you
covered
down.
it over.
And you've covered it over, yeah.
And you've covered over other things as well. So
maybe it makes your hair go grey.
You've got a bit grey now.
Well, I know he might go home and really feel really
might
have the
fall
wind
out.
up him. Yeah.
It's a bit like, was it Moses who went up the mountain with normal hair, came down with white?
Yeah.
Jehovah God, we come to you in prayer now to foremost thank you for the abundance of spiritual food we have on offer today. Who better to learn from than the creator of the family unit? Help us apply the principles learned to bring up our children in a godly way and one pleasing to you. We also need to stay awake in these last and dark days, Jehovah. Please strengthen us and be able to cope with the life's anxieties that are thrown at us. We also want to take heed of those ones that were not at the meeting today. Help us remember them in our prayers and thoughts, and perhaps give them a call to show that we care for them and we're all one family, Jehovah. So once again, Jehovah, we thank you so much for sticking with us, and we ask this prayer through your Son, Christ Jesus the Redeemer. Amen. Okay.
Hi, nice to meet you. Do you know what? I had a look on the charity's website,
Right.
and it gives the Barry contact us. Is that this hall here? Barry Vale of Glamorgan.
Vale of Glamorgan, yeah. David is over
Yeah. How do you get mail? Because there's no post box.
There is a post box out there.
Is there? We've had mail returned to us, but we've tried to post. Where is it?
It's just outside, but it does go in there.
Does it?
Let me find David.
It's all right, because I've got. I can give you this letter.
Right.
And there is a post box. I couldn't see it when maybe you can show me it when I've given you the So my name's Louise, and I'm aware that you've been sent a letter from the governing body to do an audit and get rid of certain documents. But I just wondered if you'd received this letter here, which is from the government inquiry that's been launched this year.
So who are you actually from?
Well, I work in child safeguarding.
All right.
Now there's a government inquiry that's been launched with Justice Lower Goddard chairing it. And this letter has been issued to all religious organisations and all sorts of other groups. And it's asking that people don't destroy documents because they don't know what they're going to need this year. And so I just wondered, actually the branch office should have distributed this letter to you. So as we couldn't find a post box, I'll give that to you now, and you might want to make anyone else aware of that. Only because we're aware that there is a problem with Jehovah's Witnesses destroying documents. So I don't know if you're aware that Australia did a similar inquiry last year, and they found that there'd been destroyed documents in more than 1,006 abuse cases. In fact, every single case the inquiry found, they said they destroyed documents.
So how long would sort of stuff like that have to be kept then?
If you read that letter from Justice Goddard, there's an appendix as well, and it's saying, because this inquiry has been launched middle of 2015, but it's starting now. It's an instruction to not destroy anything really, because they don't know what kind of things they're going to need. And I'm concerned that because you've been issued instructions to destroy documents, I don't want you to get into trouble because also there are other cases, very recent ones, where documents have been destroyed and it's caused huge problems in convictions. So the other thing I thought you might need to know, this is the inquiry.
Really the person you should be talking to.
As well,
I can pass it on.
Well, if you want to get Mr.
Mark.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to speak to him. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Dave's not here today. This is John Ward.
John Ward, pleased to meet you. My name's Louise.
Hello.
I think
so you're from the governing body?
I work for the, I'm from the LEA, but I work in Child Safe Education Authority, so I've just given your colleague here, I'm just saying I'm aware that your governing body instructs you to destroy documents each year, but what you might not be aware of is this inquiry here that's happening this year, independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, and Justice Goddard, who's heading up the inquiry, has issued a letter to everyone, not all religious organisations, not just witnesses, also to schools and other organisations, instructing them not to destroy documents because they're going to be doing inquiries. So the Royal Commission that happened in Australia last year was the same kind of inquiry, and they did 2 case studies on Jehovah's Witnesses where they found that lots of documents had been destroyed, and obviously it didn't look very good. So I just thought you need to be aware of that document, because I think you perhaps getting conflicting evidence. My name's Louise.
Louise who?
Yeah. Well, can I tell you something? When I phone up the branch office, I am never ever given a name. Never. So I just think that's quite... Well, I've given you my name. Well, I tell you what you can do if you want. Just as the findings from the Australian Commission on Jehovah's Witnesses, and one of the findings, you can have this if you want, was that there's an interview online with Jeffrey Jackson, a member of your governing body, which you might be aware of, but one of the findings that the Commission found is that Mr. Toole, the solicitor at the Australian branch, has been reported to the Law Society because he said he didn't advise the congregation of their obligations to report criminal offences. So it's quite possible that he might be struck off, which is a terrible situation to be in, because it might be that you're being given incorrect advice as elders, and I'm concerned that you might be held personally liable. So, well, the authorities that are concerned are these ones. Let's have a look. There are 2 investigations going on this year into Jehovah's Witnesses. One is by the Charities Commission and one is by the Independent Inquiry. Can't find it now. Yeah, here we go.
So letters where you haven't got a postcard.
Yeah, you can show me it on the way out actually, if that's right. So the Jehovah's Witness religion are being investigated this year by the Charities Commission and also by this independent inquiry.
Yeah, that was publicised last year.
That's right, yeah. So it was set up last year and they're gathering evidence now on that helpline. I mean, if you want that, you're quite welcome to have it. But just think you need to be aware that you're under a new, you're under a bit more scrutiny than has possibly been in the past, and so it would be sensible to be a bit more careful about the advice you're being given about getting rid of documents, I think. So that's my job really, if you want those findings.
Anything you wish to give or say?
Well, I think that the letter.
Do you have a card?
I don't have a card, no, but I can write now. Do you have a card?
What you with them? I didn't quite understand that.
Well, I've come on my own bat actually. I've come as an independent person who is
So you're not actually with the local education?
I am paid by the local education authority, but that's not who I've come on behalf of. I've come on behalf of myself to share that information because we couldn't find it. But if you want to show me now,
sure.
Thank you. Because we have had, I know friends of mine have had trouble getting mail to you. Is it? It's that. Oh. Right. How do you get a letter? Oh, right. And the postman knows about that then? Because I've had mail returned.
A couple of years, I would say, and we had a different box before that.
Right.
When we changed the gates, we put that there.
I think the postman needs to know about it, because I know people have had trouble serving documents and getting post to you before now.
Yes, we were told that.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. One other question I just wondered is, do you know why Mark Sewell hasn't been disfellowshipped?
I don't know.
You don't know? You're not bothered, are you?
You're putting words into my mouth.
Well,
it's just not fair.
You can give me words.
I'm sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.